Hey there everyone, this is Michael Dougal. I review nootropics and you're going to learn how to use L-Theanine. I've been using L-Theanine on and off for the past 7+ years, and there's been many times when I've enjoyed L-Theanine, but there's also been instances in which I really disliked L-Theanine, and that's because of the fact that the dosage protocol as well as the other nootropics you use alongside L-Theanine can greatly impact your whole L-Theanine experience. L-Theanine is a naturally occurring nootropic supplement which individuals use to enhance their productivity while keeping them somewhat calm. And while L-Theanine can increase levels of productivity, it actually affects you in a different way in that you're calm, cool, and collective. You're able to think more rationally and be productive. Looking here at examine.com, which is a great resource as they summarize a lot of research in order for us to better understand what benefits a specific nootropic can yield us. We can see there's benefits with relaxation, decreased levels of anxiety, and increased attention as a result of using L-Theanine. And it's pretty much been the past 5 to 10 years where we've seen this increase in popularity with L-Theanine, specifically amongst caffeine users. And that's because of the fact that we actually have research showing that using L-Theanine along with caffeine can help to increase your productivity and minimize some of those side effects that you're typically going to experience with caffeine. L-Theanine was actually discovered by Japanese scientists in 1949. They found it in tea leaves, and this is something which I really like about this nootropic supplement is that this is a naturally occurring compound that doesn't necessarily make it any safer, but it's nice knowing we're not ingesting any sort of man-made substance because who knows how those could potentially hurt us long term. And this is the one nootropic that can enhance alpha brainwaves, so what happens is when you experience a stressful experience, you're more likely to keep your emotions in check. And I've used many different nootropic supplements out there, and I've tried a lot of things which can help you to be more relaxed, but L-Theanine stands out as you get this feeling of like wakeful relaxation in the way in which you feel relaxed, but at the same time you feel attentive and you can focus on whatever you want to focus on. And as per this study here, they found that after 4 weeks of daily use of L-Theanine at 200 milligrams a day, there were better scores for stress-related symptoms, some symptoms of depression, as well as anxiety. Although something that surprised me when looking at L-Theanine is that the research pretty much shows that it's going to be more effective for individuals that are anxious. So if you don't consider yourself to be a very anxious person, then you may be one of the many users out there that use L-Theanine and feel very disappointed that you're not feeling anything. But if you're somebody that considers himself to be an anxious person, you're more likely to notice L-Theanine working. Although I'm pretty sensitive to nootropics, I consider myself to be a somewhat anxious person, not that anxious, but when I use L-Theanine, even at smaller serving sizes like 30 to 50 milligrams, I in most cases feel it working. And there's many different ways where you can use L-Theanine, but the most popular way of using L-Theanine seems to be the way in which you would use it alongside caffeine, and you would have it in a ratio double the L-Theanine for every milligram of caffeine. So 100 milligrams of caffeine along with 200 milligrams of L-Theanine. Just like this product here from Nootropics Depot. I haven't found that the brand where you get L-Theanine makes too much of a difference, but Nootropics Depot, I like the fact that they have this product. They also have the reverse ratio, which is going to be 200 milligrams of caffeine and 100 milligrams of L-Theanine. But then the question becomes, why should you take more L-Theanine versus taking less L-Theanine? And that's going to be depending on your goal and how you respond to L-Theanine. I'm somebody that when I ingest 200 milligrams of L-Theanine, I don't feel productive. I feel like I'm too relaxed. Also, there's some research showing that L-Theanine can actually lower your blood pressure, which makes it such that you may want to avoid taking it in a fasted state because it can make you feel lightheaded and fatigued. And I found it's a lot easier to introduce L-Theanine to your supplement stack if you're already ingesting caffeine. Like then you know how you respond to caffeine and you can just use your L-Theanine on top of that. However, if you're somebody that doesn't respond well to caffeine, maybe you feel the jitters, maybe the anxiety is far too much for you, then I will warn you, L-Theanine may help slightly, but it definitely won't eliminate all the caffeine side effects. Like for myself, caffeine is pretty predictable. I ingest it and I expect that 3 hours following that, I'm going to experience some sort of crash. And so when I use L-Theanine on top of caffeine, I feel a bit more calmer. I feel somewhat relaxed. Although one big misconception with L-Theanine is that it should be used with caffeine or you must use it with caffeine, and that's definitely not the case. As a matter of fact, I have the powder here, and this powder I'll use sparingly when I need it. Like let's say there's a day when I've ingested too many stimulants and I want to calm down just a little bit. That's a perfect scenario in which I can use 50 to 100 milligrams of L-Theanine. So if you're just getting started with L-Theanine, I would start off at a serving size of 50 milligrams per day, and you don't have to use it every day because L-Theanine is more so like a nootropic supplement you would use when you need it for a specific task or maybe for a specific day. There is some light research showing that when you use it every single day, you may see a gradual mood improvement. Although this is still light research and I'll keep you updated with it, I think for most individuals, they aspire to use L-Theanine to increase their productivity. I'm surprised that if you were to go ahead and get the supplement in capsule form, typically the capsules are going to be 200 milligrams, which I still think is too big of a serving size for most individuals. And 200 milligrams of L-Theanine comes out to about 6 to 8 cups of green tea. So for me, I actually prefer the reverse ratio of taking 2 caffeine to 1 L-Theanine. So at a serving size of 200 milligrams to caffeine and 100 milligrams of L-Theanine. However, I wouldn't use this every day. I think that 200 milligrams of caffeine is more than you should be having in most circumstances. I like taking caffeine before I work out, but if I were to use it for productivity, rather than having 200 milligrams of caffeine all at once, I find that I perform better and I'm more productive if I were to space the caffeine apart. But a perfect scenario in which you could use the 200 milligrams caffeine to 100 milligrams of L-Theanine is prior to doing your cardio. I'm somebody that enjoys using pre-workout supplements, but prior to doing a 30-minute run, I don't need to have many of those ingredients found in a pre-workout supplement like citrulline malate or beta-alanine. I just want to have caffeine, and rather than having coffee, I would rather have my caffeine and L-Theanine combo, because I have found that I actually recover following the workout much better. I feel calmer, and I'm more easily able to transition from doing my cardio and then getting to work there afterwards. And if you were to use L-Theanine by itself without the caffeine, then you can consider using a serving size of 100 milligrams to 200 milligrams, again, twice a day. And you should expect to feel a little bit more relaxed during the day. You can actually consider using L-Theanine before you go to bed as well. Some individuals find it slightly stimulating, so that's just going to be depending on how you respond to it. And if you were to ask about the side effects, the most common one would be demotivation, and it feels a little bit like ashwagandha. Ashwagandha, when you ingest it, you feel relaxed, but you also feel too relaxed that you don't want to execute and get to work. And that's exactly how I feel with L-Theanine, but I actually prefer how ashwagandha feels. At least I feel a bit happier. With L-Theanine, I just feel kind of spaced out. I'll get demotivated sometimes. That's another side effect of L-Theanine, is that it's very inconsistent. There are instances in which you use L-Theanine, you feel productive, you feel in a good mood, you're focused, you're able to get stuff done, whereas there's other instances in which you use L-Theanine and rather you regret taking it because of the fact that you're so unproductive and you're just waiting for it to get out of your system, which typically takes a few hours. And if you want to ensure that your L-Theanine is effective, then it's going to be best used in a fasted state. But I will warn you, if you use it in a fasted state, it's also far more likely that you'll experience some of those side effects. Let's say if you were to use L-Theanine for a couple months straight and then you run out of it and you stop using it, most likely you shouldn't feel any sort of withdrawals or any sort of come downs there afterwards. Again, because of the fact that L-Theanine is going to, for most individuals, only work for a few hours following ingestion. Now, I don't use it every day. I'll probably use it a couple of times during the week. There are times when I enjoy it. There's times when I dislike it. I'd love to know your thoughts about L-Theanine in the comment section below. Do subscribe, drop a like if you enjoyed the video and want to see more nootropic content. If you'd like to chat with me one-on-one, you can message me on Patreon, and be sure to visit our Discord server where we have a 24/7 chat room. We're having a whole lot of fun, and I look forward to seeing you next time.